How's everybody doing today? Um, Today we're going to be going over hiring successful walk-on coaches. It's going to be a really important job of yours as an athletic director to hire walk-on coaches for your school. Let's get started. Um, I'll just introduce this topic to you guys. Um, Hiring a successful walk-on coach. That's going to be the face of your athletic program. Honestly, that can make or break your image of your program, of yourself as an athletic director, and that's going to be the well-being of your job and your program. So it's going to be really important for you as an administrator. Um, Aside from sports-specific knowledge when you're hiring the coach, that should be a given. Um, there are going to be other facets. There are going to be many facets that you should look for in a potential walk-on coach. Um, some examples that you'd want to look for are their work ethic. Do they work hard? The personality. Are they good communicators? Do they engage with their players? And are they organized? Or are their office messy? Are they able to organize a successful practice? And do they communicate well with other people, whether it's the administrator, with the teachers, with their players, importantly, and even the parents? That's going to be really important as well. So the communication skills are going to be very, very important. Um, those are just a few things. We're going to go over a lot. Those are just a few things that you would look for. Um, Knowing this, you as athletic director, you have the responsibility to recruit and hire the coach that has these skills and the other skills that you would look for. Um, let's see. We're going to go ahead and get started with the values, faith, and beliefs for yourself. The number three, the three main ones for myself are accountability, responsibility, and dependability. Um, these should be highly valued in team sports in general, and in my opinion, they're the backbone of any successful program. That goes from professional down to the middle school or even recreational level. Um, Accountability in specific, um, you as an athletic director or administrator, you want to hold the coach accountable if he makes a mistake, and you want to make sure he holds his players accountable, his assistant coaches accountable for their mistakes, as well as even when they do good things. You want to show them that you notice these things. Responsibility, you want your coach to handle his tasks without you having to tell them all the time. Um, and you want him to instill that in his players as well. Same thing with dependability. You want to depend on them to take care of any issues. You want to depend on them to do their job day in and day out. You want the same thing from his players and for him to instill that in his players. You want the coach to depend on his players to do what he asks them to do, for them to do their schoolwork, things of that nature. So those three things you want from your coach and from his or her players. Um, Next, in regards to values, I have a strong belief that you obviously play sports to win games. There's no denying that. But sports should also be played to have fun. At the end of the day, it's still a game. You want your players to have fun, so you want your coach to instill that in them. You want him to provide them an experience where they can have fun, whether they win or lose. Um, and lastly, you want your coach to act within the moral realm of your institution, and whether it's during the competition of a game or not, you want him to be consistent and impart their moral obligations to his players. Um, Before we get going into how to hire the right coach, we need to define education-based athletics. Education-based athletics is obviously from the phrase itself. It's athletics that revolves around education, not the other way around. And when we say that, um, we mean that the number one priority of the players is for them to do well in school. And for the coach, his number one priority is to make sure his players do well in school. It is not the number one priority for the team to win. Yes, the coach is there to help his team win, but winning is not everything. And on top of that, winning is not the only measure of success of the coach, of the players, and the team. There are other ways to measure success. It could be the team had one of the highest grade point averages of any teams at the school. It could be um, some players got scholarships to go to another school. They might have had a lot of community service hours that the team did. They might have improved from the season before. Maybe they only won 2 games the season before, and this year, they doubled that and they won 4 games. Those are ways that we can measure success, and not only by winning. Um, and furthermore, in education-based athletics, the coaches are in place to enhance their players' experience, and they do these by a few things that I listed for you. He helps them, or the coach is supposed to help them grow and develop as student athletes, which means in the classroom and outside. Teach them lifelong lessons. I don't know how many lessons I learned as a player um, from my coaches and just simply just playing the game. And as well, the coach, obviously, like we said before, sports specific knowledge should be a given from the coach. So he's there obviously to teach them how to get better with their individual skills, regardless of the sport. Um, Now that we defined education-based athletics, now we can look at what we look for. So ideal coach traits. Um, Again, I listed some things that you could look for, but again, these are not, all inclusive. This is just a good basis or template that you could start with. Um, and I feel like these ones that I have here are really important. Um, but you want your coach to be a positive person. You want them to encourage their players when they're teaching them new skills and new strategies. You don't want your coach to be a negative type of person and have a kind of a negative attitude, kind of putting them down when they make mistakes. You want them to continuously lift them up. Um, you also want your coach to be able to teach them values and character and lifelong lessons like we mentioned before. Um, Aside from, again, sports specific knowledge, you don't want that to be the only thing that the coach can provide your players with. Um, you also want your coach to be a positive role model to everyone. That includes the players, the fans, the parents, the community, the teachers. You don't want that coach to kind of be kind of just hover around. You want them to be seen as a positive type of person that people can look up to, not just the players. Um, Lastly, I have here that you want your coach to be the type of person that abides by rules, that respects laws and rules. So you want them to follow the rules, policies, and procedures of any higher entity, whether it is your school itself, whether it is the league that they play for, regardless of whatever it is. You want that person to be able to follow rules. Um, Continuing on. Um, this is kind of a hard one, but you want your coach to look for, if you're able to find a coach that does this, look for opportunities to enhance teachable moments, outside of just the practice times. Something that's commonly used is community service involvement. So if you have a coach that can use um, community service to improve the team culture and implement it, you might have found a winner. Um, you also want your coach to put the health and welfare of the students ahead of winning. Again, winning is not the most important thing, and that's kind of the the main thing that we want to show you guys is that winning is not the number one thing. Um, you want your coach to make sure that his players are going to be healthy, um, and furthermore, you want that coach to not be complacent. You want that coach to continuously learn new things about the sport, about how to administrate athletics and physical education. So if you see your coach constantly has taken courses or has read a lot of articles or has attended a lot of conferences, that's something that you could look for in one of your coaches as well. Um, Next part, this is really important. How to determine if a coach is a good fit for your program. Every program has different ideals. Um, so you want to see if you can fit what you have going on at your program. A good way to do that is you want to ask the same questions to every candidate that you're interviewing. It's going to create a kind of a fair kind of baseline um, for your interview process. So it's not going to create any bias or anything. If you ask one candidate something, you ask another candidate something else, it's going to create different um, kind of just different judgments. So you want to ask everybody the same thing. You also want to include kind of a simple question, kind of to get the coach to relax and give you some insight about the type of personality he or she has. And kind of the easiest question, you might have heard in your interviews before, is, please tell us a little bit about yourself. It's going to give the coach an opportunity to tell you what kind of person he is and what kind of experiences he's had in the past, and what he can provide your school with. Um, you also want to avoid simple and basic answers from your candidates. So kind of be proactive beforehand and prepare your questions carefully. An example of that would be, instead of allowing coaches to say that they believe that you know athletics and sports behavior play an important role in athletics, you'd want to ask that coach, what has he done in the past to enhance the behavior of their team, or what would he do on the current team to enhance their behavior. Kind of just open-ended questions to get the coach talking to see what kind of person he or she is. Um, After you've done all that, after you've gone through the interview process, you ask your questions, you got your guy or girl, um, you want to complete the hiring process. You're gonna go ahead and call. Obviously, you're gonna call, notify the new coach that you want to bring them on. But in the same token, you want to, give the people that interviewed a call, let them know that they're not going to be, that you're not going to be hiring them. It's obviously going to be a little awkward, telling somebody no. Nobody wants to hear the words no. But you're going to have to do that to maintain that consistency within your program and that professionalism. Um, Once you have your coach that you've picked up, you're gonna need to start mentoring them. So aside from just picking them, you're kind of the coach of the coaches. You're gonna have to mold them into the culture of your program, and you want to develop them into the best coach that they could be, so they could reach their potential as a coach, and they can help their team reach that potential as well. Um, After you hire them, you want to schedule a time where you can go over everything that's important for their job, so they're able to complete everything that they need to do. Um, this session, again, I included a list, but it's not going to be everything. Every school is going to be different, so it might be different for you. You want to, maybe let them know where the equipment is going to be, and then the uniforms, and give maybe an inventory for the current uniforms that you have. Give them the upcoming season schedule so they could prepare their own schedule, so they could let their players know. Teach them how to do any kind of forms that are required. Let them know of any specific policies that you have at your school. Again, like we said, every school is different, and you want to give them any relevant contact information. The most important ones will probably be athletic trainer, um, maybe the principal, or depending on what institution you're at, and any protocols for injuries, what you would have the coach do. Um, you also, this is probably one of the most important things aside from actually hiring the coach, is to be able to evaluate them. It's going to be vital to your program because it's going to give you the opportunity to improve your program from what it is at the moment. Um, a good way to do this is you want to schedule a preseason staff meeting with all your coaches and maybe assistant coaches too, and explain to them the evaluation process. Um, you again explain to them it's not all about winning. When I evaluate you, it's not going to be all about winning. You want to explain to them what's going to be valued. I want to see improvement in the player skills. I want to see them do well in class, things of that nature. Um, Again, the central purpose is to, of the evaluation process is to give them kind of a mold for improvement. Every coach, even the veteran coaches, they can learn new things. Um, Everyone can improve. Um, Continuing on the evaluation process, this is kind of, again, a way that you can evaluate coaches. Every administrator is going to have a different way to do it. Um, the easiest way is to observe their practice sessions. You want to see if they're organized, if their practice is organized. Are the athletes engaged? Are they not waiting around? Um, are the practices too long? Practice longer than 2 hours, we've seen that they're not beneficial to players really. Um, what does the player coach interaction look like? Is it positive? Is it negative? Does he encourage them? Like we said before, positive encouragement usually yields the best results. So if the coach is kind of negative, you want to improve on that. And if he's positive, then you want to continue to encourage them to continue to be positive. Um, Maybe not the most important thing to do, but it can give you some helpful insight as to ask players and their parents to assess the coach and what they think about him. Again, that's not going to be the only ingredient that you're going to use in assessing the coach, but it's going to be part of it. Self-evaluations can be really helpful. Coaches can be, honest and maybe give them some insight on themselves, what they can do better. And last part of evaluations are writing up, a nice evaluation letter, describing every way the coach can improve, and how you recommend what they want to do in the coming season. Meet with the coach, discuss it, and have a dialogue back and forth, so you can optimize the program. That's basically it for hiring hiring coaches. Um, Hiring coaches that are going to last. You want to hire coaches that are going to stay in the program for a long time. So if you want to do that, it's going to it's going to be a long process. It's not going to be easy. But if you carefully plan it and are proactive about it, and you remain consistent, you will be able to hire the right person. Like we said, mentoring, um, evaluating, and going through the interview process is going to be really crucial. And make sure you stick to your school's values and beliefs, and as well as your own. Um, you want your coach to mirror your school's beliefs as well as your own. Um, and like we said before, you're the coach of the coaches. Your job isn't done after you hire the coach. You got to constantly evaluate them and make sure they improve, and then they improve upon their players. So you can have a positive program that's going to want to yield a good product and bring in more students to your program. Um, Hopefully you guys enjoyed this presentation, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you in your future endeavors hiring walk-on coaches for your school. You guys have a good one.